need to look at factors that drive costs across the board, right? Because the consumer carries the weight of all these associated costs. The objectives of the Government of National Unity is to pursue inclusive growth and job creation. And how do we do that? The President has mandated every minister. So look at regulation in your department and sector, and look at how we can unlock regulations to attract the investments that our economy needs in order to create the jobs that we need. So we're currently engaged in a process, as I said, of engaging with all stakeholders.
Hello and welcome to ITWeb on the road with me, Sibahle Malinga, coming to you from the Solly head office right here in Midrand, Johannesburg. And that's where Solly is hosting its brand refresh event. And of course, it is quite a well-attended event. It's a big event. And we've just heard from George Mendes what this actually means for the telecoms industry. And now, in a surprising move, guess who walked in? So I didn't even expect to see the minister here today because I didn't see your name in the agenda. But of course, we are all very happy to have you, Minister. Thank you so much for joining us right here on ITWeb TV. And also, congratulations on the new role. It was just in June when you joined as the new Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, and of course, taking over from Minister Mondli Kungubele. Perhaps, Minister, we can just start by getting an understanding of, your perspective of South Africa's telecom industry. How would you describe the current landscape?
Thanks very much for the opportunity. Yes, this was just a courtesy visit to be part of this exciting chapter for Solly. And I just want to wish them well on the journey ahead. And I hope it helps really position the brand in the manner that the leadership and the board are intended to do. So for me, my assessment of the ITC sector and the landscapes that it has a lot of potential. It's been hamstrung by a lot of tension around policy uncertainty, policy deadlocks, and also the regulatory environment, how it is. So what I've done since taking office was to be deliberate in extensive stakeholder engagement of all the key players, from the mobile network operators, to every key player in the sector, to engage with them in order to establish, two key things. One, what is the assessment of the opportunities that are currently being suffocated either by regulation, so that as government we can help unlock those opportunities. And secondly, what are their long-term dreams in terms of potential investments that they can make in helping government realize its ultimate goal, which is to digitally connect, South Africans. We know for a fact that accessibility is a major thing. So one of my goals, my mission is to make sure that we connect South Africans to opportunities, be it for work, be it for entertainment, for investment, and for living, because we live digitally able for them. So one of the things that I've also been very adamant about trying to help solve is removing obstacles to accessibility. Because one for what to have connectivity, two key things must be. You must first have a device. Secondly, or perhaps the primary one is that the accessibility to that connectivity must be reliable, right? So that it's not permanently buffering or it helps across the grid. So smart devices are currently classified as luxury goods. That means that they come with associated tests that drive the cost up. And I'm saying that in this day and age, having a smartphone, a smart device, it's not a luxury. Across the world, it becomes a basic necessity for everyday
Absolutely.
life. So we need to engaging traction because there are two opportunities. One, we've been looking at the removal of import duties or reduction of import duties in luxury items, and secondly, looking at the threshold of the classification of what constitutes luxury goods, so that you make it affordable for South Africans. Because when you look the traffic of 2G and 3G devices is still high in this country.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, Minister, if I could just jump in there, South Africa still has one of the highest data costs in the world. And so when you talk about accessibility, affordability needs to play a key role there. And so in your engagements with the telecoms operators, are they willing to push down the price, not just of data, but of communication? And that, of course, includes the devices and everything else that it entails.
There's a recognition that the cost is a factor. But we need to get factors that drive costs across the board, right? Because the consumer carries the weight of all this associated cost. But so there are in terms of the security of the infrastructure. Mobile network operators are spending millions in, reinvesting in vandalized
Absolutely.
batteries, load shedding when there was.
And that hits the consumer.
So that hits the consumer. So in fairness, we gotta look at all the factors that drive that, and let's say to your mobile network operators, within your own lane, this is what you can do. Because ultimately what we gotta do is to cultivate the space for investments to happen, for these mobile network operators to invest in the infrastructure that is needed and have that infrastructure secured so that South Africans can benefit from accessibility and connectivity by the presence of that. So there's a whole socio-economic contributory factor to what drives cost. And if we just look at cost only, we are just being populist to be fair. The cost, yes, is a factor. We need to take a look at it. But what are the primary causes that drive data costs? We need to address those.
And Minister, you make quite an important point when you talk of policy reforms. I know that when you came in, there was a big noise about how you're actually going to be shaking up the telecoms policy space. So what are your goals as far as policy is concerned? We know that the telecoms operators have actually been saying that instead of policy creating a conducive environment, it's actually been, a red tape in some instances. Yeah. What changes are you looking to make?
So the changes are guided by what the Government of National Unity has set out, and one of the primary objectives of the Government of National Unity is to pursue inclusive growth and job creation. And how do we do that? The President has mandated every minister. So look at regulation in your department and sector, and look at how we can unlock regulations to attract the investments that our economy needs in order to create the jobs that we need. So we're currently engaged in a process, as I said, of engaging with all stakeholders. And it's a very thorough and meticulous process that will then inform our policy review with regards to some of the policy that was already in the pipeline, and see what interventions are necessary. But the key thing for me is that policy has got to be inclusive. It's got to be inclusive of all the key players in the sector and real sectors. Because actually it's going to impact them more.
It is an ecosystem. Yes.
We don't want to be making policy that drives out investment out of our country when our country needs it. I've got 11 entities in the department, just to give you perspective, right? They lie, the majority of them, the largest portion of their budget comes from grants from our department. Right? And I'm saying that it's unsustainable. Treasury is also saying that those that are not functioning well, it's not sustainable to continuously pay them out. So with that, create opportunities for them to be commercially competitive, to be commercially sustainable, and also to look at elements of public-private partnerships in those spaces so that there's entities that are competing with other private companies in this space, compete with them on a fair and equal ground.
Can you just give me a case study of one of these 11 entities you referred to, and from a realistic perspective, what are your goals and what does the future hold?
Ultimately, I mean, the post office is a typical example of it. We gotta look at how do you make the post office competitive in the digital communications and courier services era, where the market is highly competitive. When you look at the mushrooming of courier services that have infiltrated the market, it shows that the market is there. Right? Let me get the state of the post office. The post office has one of the largest footprints in terms of infrastructure for the country. But the future left it behind because it wasn't able
Absolutely.
to evolve. But now they're saying, yes, we look at created the space for some form of private owner and private involvement in the post office, so that it doesn't have to permanently lie or go to the especially for beggars, because the redeemer, the fiscus, takes away a standing that could be allocated for social services and doesn't introduce bailouts for state-owned enterprises that are necessary for the country function. But every cent that goes into a bailout is a cent taken away from education, policy, water, health.
I love the example you give, Minister, because at the moment we've got courier services who are not happy about what's happening in the South African post office space, because they feel that the post office wants to monopolize. They now want to take away, should I call it lunch, from the smaller couriers, and we know that there is currently an ongoing lawsuit between the courier services and the South African Post Office, and at the center of that lawsuit is the delivery of goods which are 1 kg and less. Yes. Can you just explain to us what is happening in that space? Is the lawsuit still ongoing? I know that the post office will now continue delivering items which are 1 kg and less.
As things stand, that is what the post office is, legally, mandated to do. I don't want to comment on the whole case, and still how that case involves, but the law is currently here, and that should continue. Everyone is entitled to challenging, any legal aspects that they feel prejudices them. But until there's a different ruling, the status quo continues. I think I don't want to get into the merits of that case, but the point is the market has got to be competitive. When the market is competitive, everyone competes on equal ground. That's to the merit of the economy. That's the principle.
Some have said, though, there is a lot to be said with regards to service delivery from the post office perspective, and which is why you have people that are actually motivating for the couriers, the private couriers, who are said to be doing a much better job to take over.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is the post office comes with a difficult task. And there is a commission. That's why it's currently under business rescue in order to deal with that. But there is a space provided for the post office, the post office to exist, because there's a higher proportion of the population that can easily access the post office more than they can other private courier services. And we need to make sure that for those who get is the government, if not the responsibility for them to access affordable telecommunications and postal and courier services.
Thank you so much, Minister. I see there is a queue outside, a pretty long queue. So you're going to be having a busy night tonight. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, and we do wish you all the best in your role.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.